In this last video, we're going to get two more examples in. First, we want to find the cosine of 135 degrees. And just like in that last example, the first thing that we need to do is figure out where this angle is on the coordinate plane. So I always like to start off by drawing my coordinate plane and then labeling these four angles here. I always like to start off labeling those. And then again, we start off at positive x-axis. We'll have one side here, and we go counterclockwise 135 degrees. So 90 degrees takes me here. 135 degrees takes me halfway between the 90 and the 180. And again, we draw our triangle to the x-axis. Now, if we're halfway between, if this is a 135 degree angle, that means this has to be a 45 for us to get all the way to 180. So 135 degrees is just 45 away. So in this case, I have a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. If I label my side lengths here, my special right triangle relationships, this length is 1, 1, and the square root of 2. Since we're over to the left here, though, I'm going to call this a negative 1. We're above the x-axis, so this is positive 1. Hypotenuse is always positive. Now let's get to the evaluating part. So cosine of 135 degrees. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, if you look above here. And if we look at our 45 degree angle here, our adjacent side length is negative 1. Our hypotenuse is the square root of 2. So I get this, negative 1 over the square root of 2. Here's the issue though. We don't like having a square root in the bottom of a fraction. So this kind of goes back to chapter 6 a little bit here, where we have to rationalize the denominator, multiply by the square root of 2 on the top and the bottom. And that gives us the negative square root of 2 over square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, or negative square root of 2 over 2, because the square root of 4 is 2. One last example here, evaluating the tangent of negative 150 degrees. Well, let's start off the same way, where we draw our coordinate plane, and then we'll figure out what that negative means. Again, I like to label my 0, my 90, 180, and 270. Now that negative angle, what does that mean? A negative angle means that we want to go clockwise around our circle instead of counterclockwise. So if I am at negative 150 degrees, we still start off with our positive x-axis. Instead of going 150 degrees counterclockwise like normal, we go 150 degrees clockwise. Okay, so if I go 90 degrees, I'm here. If I go 180 degrees, I'm all the way over here. If I go 150, I'm only 30 degrees off of the 180, giving me a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now, every time you will be able to make one of these special right triangles. I'll never give you a situation where you can't. But if we fill in our missing side lengths with our special right triangles, if I have a 30, 60, 90, we call our short leg 1. The long leg is the square root of 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. Okay, let's see. Since we are to the left, we have a negative x value, so negative square root of 3. And since we are down, we have a negative y value. So we call that negative 1. And now we're to the evaluating part. So we are trying to find the tangent. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we look at our angle that we made with the x-axis. From our 30 degrees here, the opposite side is negative 1. The adjacent side from our 30-degree angle here, the adjacent is the negative square root of 3. So negative 1 over the negative square root of 3, well, the negatives are going to cancel out. But again, we have that issue where we have the radical on the bottom. So to get rid of it, we multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. So we have the square root of 3 on top. Square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9. Square root of 3 over 3 is our final answer.